The fears you run from are the very things that control you. Most people move through life as if they're paying rent to their anxieties, constantly negotiating, constantly sacrificing small parts of themselves just to keep those fears quiet. And here's the shocking truth. Studies show the human brain processes social rejection and public humiliation almost the same way it processes physical pain. That's why most people avoid them at all costs. But Sigma males? They walk straight into the situations everyone else sidesteps. Not because they're reckless or invincible, but because they've reprogrammed how they deal with fear. Where others see a locked door, they see a challenge, a question of whether the lock is even worth picking in the first place. So today, we're breaking down 12 fears that paralyze most people, but barely make a Sigma male flinch. Some of these will make you sweat, others might even make you laugh, because you'll realize you've been running from these fears your whole life, while a Sigma would treat them as nothing more than a warm-up lap. Number 1. Refusing to compete in rigged games. Most people will walk straight into battles they already know are unfair. They can see the rules are slanted, the system stacked against them, yet the craving for validation, the obsession with proving themselves, and the fear of being branded a quitter push them forward anyway. For many, it's not even about the prize. It's about the eyes watching, the applause they hope to earn, or the respect they think comes from simply struggling. That's how deep the scoreboard mentality runs in most people's minds. Sigma males don't play that way. If the rules are corrupt, they don't fight harder to win, they walk away entirely. Not out of laziness, and not from cowardice, but out of intelligence. They know that when the outcome is predetermined, winning is nothing more than proving you can out-cheat a cheater. At best, you burn energy for hollow recognition. At worst, you waste yourself for the approval of people who were never on your side. Walking away takes more backbone than grinding out a fake victory, because it means choosing self-respect over applause. Most can't stomach the accusation of running away, so they stay trapped in a broken game, hoping they'll be the exception. Sigma males don't carry that weakness. They know real victory only exists when the outcome isn't fixed by someone else's agenda. And here's the kicker, by refusing to play, they often gain more power than if they had played and lost. Rigged systems survive only because people agree to keep participating. The moment someone who could win refuses to even step on the field, the illusion cracks. Suddenly, the champions look like paper kings guarding toy crowns. Sigma males don't care about being another name on someone else's scoreboard. They'd rather put their focus into spaces where strategy, wit, and skill truly determine the outcome. That's why manipulators hate them. You can't bait a Sigma into dancing for your approval. And that, ironically, is the ultimate power move, proving they don't need to win your game, because they're too busy building their own. Number 2. Being alone with themselves. Most people aren't truly afraid of being alone, they're afraid of being alone with themselves. It's not the silence that unsettles them. It's the noise that rises when there's nothing left to distract them, the regrets they've been avoiding, the truths they've been burying, the flaws they've never admitted. Those are the real shadows in an empty room. That's why so many keep themselves surrounded by noise, endless chatter, constant entertainment, or shallow company. It's easier to drown out the voice in your head than to face what it's actually saying. Sigma males, however, are built differently. Solitude isn't just something they can handle, it's something they crave. They've already fought the battles inside their own minds. They've confronted their weaknesses, admitted their mistakes without excuses, and accepted the parts of themselves others might judge. That's why being alone doesn't shake them. They've already made peace with their own reflection. For most, isolation feels like abandonment. For a Sigma male, it feels like freedom. Alone time is when they sharpen their ideas, refine their plans, and recharge their energy. They understand that solitude isn't emptiness, it's clarity. It's a sanctuary where distractions can't reach them, where their thoughts grow sharper without the noise of the crowd. And here's what unsettles people: you can't manipulate someone with isolation if they enjoy being alone. Cut them off as a punishment, and it backfires. They'll treat it like a gift, using that time to think clearer, make bolder choices, and often return stronger than before. The truth is simple: only those who have never faced themselves are terrified of solitude. Sigma males have faced themselves so often that there's nothing left to fear. They've turned their own company into a fortress. And once your mind is a place you want to be, no one can weaponize loneliness against you. Number 3. Opportunities that slip away. Most people treat opportunities like fragile birds, rare, delicate, and irreplaceable. When one flies away, they panic, convinced they'll never see another. This comes from a mindset of scarcity, the belief that life only offers a few golden chances, and missing one means the story's already over. That's why so many cling to toxic jobs, stay in draining relationships, or compromise their values, out of fear the next door won't open. Sigma males, however, see the entire landscape differently. They know life isn't a single bus route where missing your stop leaves you stranded. It's more like an endless ocean, waves keep rolling in. Some small, some massive, some you're not ready to ride yet, but there's always another. This doesn't make them careless, it makes them deliberate. Instead of leaping at every chance like it's the last one, they wait for the one that fits their timing, skills, and long-term vision. This patience is lethal in the best way because it shields them from desperation. Desperation makes people settle for crumbs and call it a banquet. A Sigma would rather let an opportunity drift past than grab it before he's ready to own it. They know forcing the wrong chance can burn out their energy, waste years, or anchor them to something that will pull them under. Here's the twist that unsettles others: by not chasing every chance, Sigmas often attract better ones. People sense when someone isn't operating from fear of loss. That energy alone makes them magnetic, because just like with people, opportunities are drawn to those who don't appear desperate for them. Sigmas have mastered the art of missing without mourning. They don't waste time replaying what-ifs, they trust their ability to create or attract the next big thing. That's why you'll never hear them saying, "I should have taken my shot." They know the ocean always sends another wave, and when it comes, they'll be ready to ride it on their own terms. Number 4, walking away from comfort. Comfort has a clever disguise, it often looks like success. A stable job, predictable routines, familiar surroundings. On the surface, it feels safe. But slowly, it drains people of their edge. Most don't even notice it happening. They start trading ambition for convenience, curiosity for familiarity, until one day they're living in a padded cage of their own making. Fear often gets blamed for holding people back, but comfort is the quieter prison, more dangerous because it feels good while it's stealing your growth. Sigma males are wired to detect that trap early. The moment comfort begins turning into complacency, they sense it like an alarm bell. They know staying too long in easy conditions dulls instincts, weakens the mind, and erodes sharpness. Comfort, left unchecked, can be just as lethal to growth as constant struggle, because without challenge, you don't just stop improving, you start decaying. That's why Sigmas are willing to torch a life that looks flawless from the outside. If they sense it's making them weaker, they'll leave the job everyone envies, walk away from the relationship that's good enough, or uproot themselves from a city they've already mastered. Not because they're ungrateful, but because they value growth over ease. They'd rather be stretched and sharpened than wrapped in a blanket of security that's slowly suffocating their potential. To most, this looks reckless. To a Sigma, it's maintenance. They're not interested in preserving a life at the cost of the man they're becoming. They'd rather rebuild from nothing than settle into a version of themselves that's just comfortable enough. And this unsettles people who define themselves by stability, because it reveals a brutal truth: sometimes the life you're protecting is the very thing that's holding you back. Sigma males don't need that illusion. They'd rather face the discomfort of change than waste away in the comfort of decline. That's why they're dangerous in the best possible way. They'll walk away from what most people cling to, because they know true security doesn't come from never having to start over. It comes from knowing you can. Number 5, not having a plan. Most people can't function without a strict plan. They crave step-by-step instructions, neat timelines, and a promise that if they follow the script, life will unfold predictably in 1, 3, or 5 years. It's comforting to believe life works like a manual, but that comfort is fragile. One unexpected storm, one sudden twist, and the entire blueprint collapses. Sigma males know this, which is why they don't worship rigid plans. They value direction over prediction. To them, a compass is far more powerful than an itinerary. A plan assumes the landscape won't change. A compass works regardless of how the terrain shifts. While most people obsess over mapping every possible turn, Sigma males sharpen adaptability, because they understand survival and success often hinge on how fast you can pivot when things go wrong. This isn't carelessness, it's the opposite. Plans can trap people in rigidity, forcing them into methods that fail under pressure. Sigma males stay fluid, which allows them to spot opportunities others miss while clinging to an outdated blueprint. They're not afraid to abandon a dead strategy, shift direction mid-journey, or carve a new path if the compass points that way. Ironically, this mindset often takes them further than the most carefully designed plans. When you're adaptable, you're never off track, you're just following the route reality reveals in the moment. Meanwhile, those obsessed with their original script can't see the better road because they're still forcing the one they dreamed up months or years ago. For Sigma males, the goal isn't predicting every detail of the trip, it's moving toward what truly matters, no matter how many times the terrain changes. That's why they can walk through chaos without losing their way. The world believes safety comes from planning everything. Sigma males know real safety comes from being ready for anything. Number 6, admitting they don't care. Most people are experts at pretending. They nod through dull conversations, act invested in problems that don't affect them, and plaster on polite smiles just to keep the peace. It's rarely kindness, it's fear. Fear of being called rude, fear of offending someone, fear of standing out as the one who doesn't play along. This constant performance drains energy and builds hollow connections, but it's become so normal that few even notice they're doing it. Sigma males don't waste time on that act. If something doesn't matter to them, they'll say so outright, not to be cruel, but because pretending is a waste of their time and yours. They believe honesty, even when uncomfortable, is more respectful than shallow pretense. This bluntness unsettles those who rely on politeness, but it also earns Sigmas a reputation for being refreshingly real. When they give something attention, people know it's authentic. Their yes means yes, and their no is unshakable. This refusal also protects them from manipulation. Many power plays depend on emotional bait, making you feel guilty, obligated, or pressured into caring so you'll comply. Sigma males are immune to this trap because they don't fear the backlash of saying, "I'm not interested." That simple boundary is a quiet but lethal form of independence. Of course, this honesty polarizes people. Some find it liberating, others see it as abrasive. But Sigma males don't chase universal approval. They know protecting their energy requires being selective about what deserves it. In a world addicted to pretending, they stand out as the rare few willing to tell you the truth, not because it's easy, but because anything less feels like a lie. Number 7, embracing the outsider role. Most people will bend over backward to avoid being the outsider. They'll water down their opinions, reshape their personality, and even fake enthusiasm for things they dislike just to secure a place at the table. Being excluded feels threatening because their identity is tied to belonging. It's not just about loneliness, it's about losing social validation. Sigma males don't interpret it that way. For them, standing on the edges isn't exile, it's leverage. Distance offers clarity. When you're not trapped in the cycle of seeking approval, you see the power dynamics more clearly, who's leading, who's following, and who's just making noise. From that vantage point, a Sigma male can decide when to engage, when to pull back, and when to disrupt the flow entirely. This freedom makes them unpredictable. While most people weigh every move against how it will be judged, Sigma males move on their own timing, speak their actual thoughts, and make choices without consulting the court of public opinion. That kind of detachment unnerves people who depend on peer pressure to keep control. The outsider stance also shields them from emotional traps, groupthink, mob mentality, and unwritten rules that erode individuality. Sigma males can step in when there's value and step out when the cost is too high. This flexibility gives them more control than those who scramble to stay in at all costs. For most, exclusion feels like weakness. For Sigma males, it's where their true power begins. The edge of the crowd is not isolation, it's strategy. And those who fight hardest to stay inside rarely realize the outsider sees everything they cannot. Number 8, starting from zero. Most people treat starting over as defeat. They see it as wasted effort, wasted time, and wasted progress, standing at the bottom while others are ahead. That fear of losing everything traps them in dead-end situations, toxic jobs, failing relationships, stale ventures. They cling to scraps rather than confront the blank page of a new beginning. Sigma males don't chain their identity to what they've built. Their identity lies in their ability to build again. That's why they're unafraid to burn down foundations that no longer serve them. To them, starting from zero isn't erasure, it's liberation. A clean slate means no inherited problems, no outdated compromises, and no obligations that drag them backward. What others call loss, Sigma males call freedom. They see the bottom not as a pit, but as a launch pad. With no weight holding them down, they move faster, sharper, and more decisively than those still dragging their past behind them. They know momentum matters more than position. You can be stuck at the top or unstoppable at zero. That's why a Sigma male starting over is often more formidable than before. Leaner, wiser, unburdened, they're hungrier and more dangerous to rivals who expect them to be broken. The battlefield becomes cleaner, the vision sharper, the drive greater. This resilience frees them from fear itself. Once you've proven you can rebuild from nothing, there's nothing anyone can take that can truly ruin you. Sigma males don't dread life's resets, they embrace them. They've learned that sometimes the fastest way forward is to strip everything back to nothing and begin again, with a pen untainted by old ink. Number 9, letting relationships end. Most people cling to relationships long after they've stopped being healthy. Not because they're deeply invested, but because letting go feels like betrayal. They convince themselves they owe it to shared history, old memories, or simply to avoid being the bad guy. That guilt, mixed with the comfort of routine, keeps them tied to friendships, partnerships, and even family dynamics that quietly drain them. Over time, these connections shift from bonds to obligations. The habit of holding on becomes stronger than the will to move on. Sigma males don't treat relationships as permanent by default. They see them as living things, and like anything alive, some eventually reach their natural end. When a bond no longer adds value, starts breeding resentment, or consistently pulls them off their path, they don't wait until the rot is unbearable. They end it while it's still salvageable in memory. This isn't cold, it's self-preservation. They understand that staying in a dead relationship doesn't just waste time, it erodes self-respect. You shrink yourself to fit into something that no longer fits you. By walking away early, they protect their energy, sharpen their boundaries, and avoid the slow poison of pretending something is alive when it's not. This also keeps their circle stronger, because the people who remain are there for real connection, not guilt, not obligation. To outsiders, this decisiveness can look heartless. But Sigma males know there's nothing kind about keeping someone in a relationship you've already checked out of. A clean ending frees both sides to grow without dragging each other down. To them, endings aren't tragedies, they're often the only way to protect what was once good before it turns toxic. Number 10, telling the unwelcome truth. Most people hesitate to speak hard truths. They soften their words, twist their opinions, or stay silent just to avoid conflict. It's not always dishonesty, it's fear. Fear of awkward silences, angry stares, or losing approval. So they keep quiet, hoping someone else will say what needs to be said. Sigma males don't wait for someone else. If the truth is necessary, they'll say it, even if it slices through the room like a blade. They're not reckless, they're intentional. They know the difference between speaking to wound and speaking to wake people up. And they understand something most avoid: comfort rarely drives change, but discomfort forces awareness. When a Sigma male speaks truth, it carries weight. They're not chasing applause or trying to win debates. They drop facts that stand on their own, whether people like them or not. That's why their words hit harder than polite half-truths. People may bristle at first, but later, when the sting fades, they often realize it was exactly what they needed to hear. This bluntness also makes them hard to manipulate. Many systems rely on silence to survive. The moment someone calls out the flaw, the lie, or the hypocrisy, the illusion cracks. Sigma males aren't afraid to swing that hammer because they don't depend on group approval for validation. Of course, this makes them polarizing. Some see brutal honesty, others see troublemaking. But Sigma males don't care about labels. Telling people what they want to hear wins short-term favor. Telling them what they need to hear creates long-term respect. For them, truth isn't about comfort. It's about clarity. Final words, the bigger picture, fear and freedom. Most people spend their lives negotiating with fear, dodging it, disguising it, or pretending it's not there. Sigma males dismantle it piece by piece until it loses its grip. Whether it's walking away from comfort, rejecting a rigged game, or embracing solitude, they move through life unchained by the limits that hold others back. This doesn't mean they're reckless or fearless. It means they know the real danger isn't in the risks you take, it's in the ones you avoid because you're protecting an image, a routine, or someone else's approval. At the core, Sigma males master the art of letting go of what doesn't serve them, and leaning fully into the unknown when it promises growth. Their strength isn't in feeling no fear, it's in refusing to let fear shape who they are. Once you stop letting fear dictate your moves, life stops being a maze you're trying to survive, and becomes a field you command.